Good afternoon. Welcome to the graduation of the great class of 2025. I'm Stephen Sager, and I'm a teacher at and director of Berkshire Waldorf High School. Thank you so much for being here and for the love and support you've given these students and soon-to-be graduates. Behind me, from your right to left, are our board chair, Teresa O'Brien, today's speaker, Genevieve Brossard, and next to them are members of our faculty, Edward Hamelrath, Catherine Dufault, Katie Fowley, Bob Andenmotten, Julia Nunez, Kendall Schaefer, Avia Stanton, and Samantha Steer. Following the ceremony, the graduates will form a receiving line outside the front door of the church. Please congratulate them and then join us in the meeting room, go around the church to get there rather than through here, around to the right at that point, and join us for a reception and some cake. The class of 2025 with 7 students is a small and powerful class, a 7-pointed star. This group of students is also among the more harmonious, thoughtful, and idealistic students I have known. If you were at their senior recognition night at the Mahawi Theater last Thursday, you heard from them about their care for the natural world, their interest in sustainable agriculture and food production, their interest in housing and care for the disadvantaged and the indigenous, creative possibilities for those with disabilities, and the value of a creative life in general. Members of this class will go in different directions, but they are all open to a search for meaning and committed to a healthier world. The natural world, the social world, and the world of us as individuals. This is true of most of our graduates, but the class of 2025 is more conscious of their commitment and more able to articulate it than many others are. I accompanied this class on their trip to Hermit Island, Maine last September to study tide pool zoology. It was an easy week because of the students' lively sense of humor, their interest in our study and life on the island, and their shared stories and meals. I also had the pleasure of being the very worst player of a game called Werewolf that they had ever encountered. More to the point, in the midst of a full, even exhausting schedule, from before sunrise until well after sunset, they cooked for and fed each other and kept our group campsite clean and orderly, including our kitchen and dining areas. Please don't underestimate this compliment. I try not to be judgmental, but I do judge you by your care for a campsite. By this measure, I judge the class of 2025 to be most excellent. This afternoon, we'll hear from each of the graduates in alphabetical order as listed in your program. I will then introduce today's speaker, Genevieve Brossard. Alice Barrett is our first speaker.
Dear Dr. Brossard, Miss O'Brien, Dr. Sagarin, teachers, trustees, parents, friends, and classmates. Reflecting on this year, there is so much to touch on. Zoology at Hermit Island, astronomy in the Adirondacks, weeks of classic English literature, and occasional trips to the coffee shop. We may not have been the biggest class, but I believe that we've made up for that in several ways. During this year of transition, we have grown closer and more connected than ever. We were also fortunate enough to welcome in 2 more classmates. Today, I want to take a moment to simply acknowledge this class as a whole because I have been incredibly privileged to learn alongside some of the most talented, creative, intelligent, and personable young women that I have ever met. While reading Nature by Ralph Waldo Emerson, I came across something that really touched me. This passage stated that each moment of the year has its own beauty, and in the same field it beholds, every hour, a picture which was never seen before and which shall never be seen again. Not long after seeing this, I learned from Michael DeLeo that the stars are always moving, and at the exact moment that each of us were born, the stars are positioned in a way that will never appear to us again. So everyone, take this as a reminder that each and every little moment of life that we experience is unique and miraculous in itself for this very reason. The stars will never be in the same place that they are today as we are graduating from high school. because change is inevitable. It's the only constant we can grasp. From this day forward, we are starting our lives over. We are beginning a brand new chapter, a kneeling. I hope that you can all find joy in these transitions. I hope that you all reach for the stars, now finding comfort in the ways in which they move with us, connecting us to Earth and all that lies beyond this physical body. I want to thank my family, friends, and teachers for their endless support throughout my high school years. This school really is a special place, and I'm so grateful that I ended up here. Thank you.
Good afternoon. You'd think by now, after 3 years of being here, I would be ready for this assignment. Strangely, coming up with something to say to you all today might be the hardest assignment of all. There are so many infinite memories I could share, but then it would be too long, so I will just say this. I love my class. I am so excited for what is to come next year, but I will miss every one of you, except for Alice. Our adventure together is only beginning, and I can't wait to explore North Carolina with you. May we never stop impersonating chickens together. I will miss hanging out with Humera backstage, playing with the napkins when the costume crew has nothing to do, sword fighting with Masuda with clothing hangers, playing GeoGuessr with Flora during the laptop ban, walking to get coffee with Feifei, and debating on long walks with Ava during lunch about books or detestable creatures. I will miss the feeling of us gathered around a fire singing, or at the river, lake, or beach, or of us cooking and eating together. Thank you so much to my classmates. I couldn't ask for a better class. And thank you to my family and for my grandparents for making this possible for me. And yeah, that's it.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to start my speech with a beautiful poem by Maulana Jalaluddin, who is known as Rumi in the West, that says, هست مهمان خانه این تن ای جوان هر صباحی ضیف نو آید دوان هین مگو کین مان اندر گردنم که مکنون باز پرد در عدم هرچه آید از جهانی غیب وش در دلت ضیف است او را دار خوش. Here is the English translation. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house. Empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight, the dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. This was my first year at Berkshire Waldorf High School and in the US. For me, it was a year filled with new experiences, new people, new friends, and most importantly, a new chapter of my life. A year filled with laughter and tears, friendships made, and challenges overcome, from which I will always carry memories and lessons that will stay with me throughout the journey of my life. Everything this year was unforgettable for me, from the sunset on Hermit Island to watching the stars in Adirondacks. A time when we truly felt like a family, laughing, cooking, and enjoying every moment together. We have had a great class, and we learned not only from textbooks, but also from each other. We have learned the value of encouraging, helping, supporting, and growing together. I have had the kindest classmates, and each of them has shown me their kindness and support. Thank you for being a part of my life. Also, many thanks to our dear teachers for always supporting us, guiding us, and sometimes challenging us. And most importantly, giving me and the other Afghan girls here another chance to build a new future. I enjoyed every seminar, especially my favorite seminar, Philosophy with Mrs. Steer, which taught me that I think, therefore I am. In the end, to my family, thank you for your support, sacrifices, and endless laugh. Although I don't have them here today, but I am happy to be part of such a caring, generous, and wonderful community. Thank you, and congratulations, class of 2025.
Good afternoon, everyone. Wow, high school went by fast. I mean, maybe not in the moment, but now as we're graduating and moving on, it feels like it happened in an instant. I went into my freshman year of high school having spent nearly a year at home, going to school online in the kitchen due to COVID. I had forgotten what it was like to actually be in school, to be around people other than my family. But this school, our school, quickly became a second family to me. Sorry. And I owe most of that feeling to my class. Our class has always gotten along, but this year we really got to know each other and form a deep connection. At the beginning of the year, we stayed for a week at Hermit Island, Maine, studying zoology in the classroom and in the tide pools. We cooked for each other, spent time at the beach, sat around the fire, dug in the mud for clams. We had to sprint up the hill to make it to class, sweating, and had an encounter with a skunk. We were spending time with each other, learning about each other. Then last month, we went on our trip to the Adirondacks. We spent 4 days together studying astronomy, doing metalwork, learning how to anneal. Almost every day, we walked to a nearby river. Alice and Calendula would swim, but it was too cold for the rest of us. We hung out in a huge field filled with tiny white flowers. We cooked for each other. We laughed and played Jenga, had an epic spatula sword fight. We looked at the stars. We started to feel like a family. I want to thank my teachers for their constant hard work and for supporting me always. Thank you to my mom, Dad, and brother for loving me and being there for me. This has been one of the best years of my life. And in a way, I'm not ready to let this go, for it all to someday become a memory. Thank you for being the most wonderful, thoughtful, creative class, and for the sweetest year of my life. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm a student. Last year around this time, I left my home country and traveled across the ocean to attend Berkshire Waldorf High School in the United States. I felt really sad about leaving my family, just like Flora right now. I was crying. But little did I know about all the amazing experience waiting for me here. First of all, I met my host family, who are some of the kindest and most supportive people I've ever met. I found myself being embraced as a family member, and I felt like they're my second family. I cannot explain how transformative and joyful this past year has been. Besides learning some amazing subjects, I learned openness, being supportive, and I got to know myself better. Each class, teacher, and classmates created a community filled with love, learning, and joy. I was fortunate to be part of a class known as being relaxed, engaging, self-motivated, and creative. The class included 7 girls, math lovers and math haters, farmers, poets, writers, actors, some of the amazing people. Feifei, I will never forget how caring and generous you are. Flora, can't wait to see you perform in the world's best theaters. Calendula, your friendliness and sense of humor always kept our class alive. Ava, your pen has a quiet magic in it. Keep having fun with it. Alice, I admire the way let's say it this way. I will never forget your quote during our tough time. Just don't worry about it. and Humera, thank you for being my best friend. The whole year has been really amazing for me. Seminars, lunchtime, chats, class trips, and senior trip created unforgettable memories in my mind. I remember that Mrs. Sagan had asked me to write an article about in the school's newsletter about some of my culture shocks in the United States, but I never got to do it, so I'm going to share some of them in here, just to be funny. Wearing all kinds of dirty shoes in here inside the house was normal. That was really surprising for me. Giving a tip in a restaurant was like a mandatory thing. Public bathrooms have a big gap in their doors. Feeling super short. Blowing your nose as loudly as possible was like normal. Saying no is very easy here. Americans are very direct. At the end, I would like to thank the school, especially Mrs. Sagren and Ms. Steer, for providing me this opportunity, and I will do my best to make the most of it. Thank you.
I will never forget the pink sunset painted on the foggy sky above Hermit Island. The red setting sun was a gleam of hope in the sky. A voice was yelling in my heart, "Run, run to the sun." So I said to my friends, "I want to see the sun freaking set." We ran as fast as we could, losing our breath, but we caught the last image of the sun at the top of the hill. It was glorious as each one of you. You shine like the sun in your own galaxies. Each of you is unique. I've learned so much from you. Your thoughts, your ways of living, your inner strength. I know we're special because we know how to anneal. As Mr. DeLeo said, keep striving. It's the most powerful quality to have. And you've got to watch out for blindly following the crowd, like you've got to watch out for rogue waves. You can never be too careful. You may face obstacles, you may suffer, but always listen to your mind and follow your heart. Be self-reliant, so you won't get lost, because getting lost is embarrassing. Even if you do get lost, I know that there's a star, like the Polaris, in each of you, and it will guide you back and set you free. I'm deeply grateful for my time at Berkshire Waldorf High School. I want to thank my family and my host families for making it possible for me to come here. I want to thank all the teachers for showing me the blank spots of the world. I want to thank all my friends for making this experience irreplaceable. I want to thank my classmates for their love and support. And finally, thank you everyone for being here today.
Hi, everyone. Hopefully I don't cry because this makeup is not waterproof, shockingly enough. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Ava Young. I'm so glad you made it to our graduation. I'm honestly glad I was able to make it. 4 years have slipped by so fast. It feels less like a marathon and more like a sprint, or maybe a blur. And now, somehow, I'm tasked with entertaining all of you with this speech. No pressure, right? Time is elusive. Some people say it's a social construct, or at least that's what I say every time I'm late. High school has taught me a lot, like how to convince my teachers to take us to the coffee shop, or how to act like I know what I'm talking about. People often say, high school was the best years of my life. Are they okay? I can never tell if they're serious. In freshman year, I earned a reputation as the weird, quiet girl who was always writing stories. Now, I'm a slightly less weird and quiet girl, Okay, maybe that's not the best way to phrase that, but it's true. I barely spoke until the end of junior year, except in English class. I can never seem to shut up in English class. Math, on the other hand, I avoided it like the plague. Sorry to my tutor for those times I hid behind the blackboard or sprinted out to the parking lot to escape. And to Dr. Sagrin, thanks for tolerating the various short stories I penned during geometry class about evil math teachers running totalitarian regimes. You can say I was inspired by fear and my love for dystopian literature. Somehow I convinced Mr. Andenmatten to let me write an essay on the physics of poetry, 5 pages on something that technically doesn't exist. I think he liked it. At the risk of sounding like a promotional ad for Waldorf education, I have to say this place saved me. Here I found a community of passionate, brilliant people who wanted me to be myself and listen to my thoughts. Can you believe that? As excited as I am to move on to college and what's next, it feels like I'm leaving behind a piece of who I am. The person standing here awkwardly and with questionable confidence, totally prepared for adulting. But as I prepare to say goodbye, I return to this dream I've been having every night. I think it's the only way I can explain what goodbye really feels like. In my dream, I stand on a cliff overlooking a beautiful and vast ocean. Have any of you ever looked at the ocean? Not just seen it, really looked at it. It provokes a sense of fear, longing, and wonder, beyond the physical and spiritual bodies we claim, beyond words. You feel lonely, achingly small, compared to all that the ocean can encompass in its majestic light and glory. But you also feel infinite. From my precarious position on the cliff, I have a desire to run wildly toward the water, but I can't. I'm frozen in place. I can see it all, places I want to go and places I will never go. The person I might be. I see my life flashing before my eyes, not in a straight line, but in electric shockwaves. Static fills my ears. This is my life, I whisper, and suddenly, I understand what that means, and the weight of that knowledge brings tears to my eyes. This is my life. I'm so grateful to my mother for providing this education for my brother and me. She's a superhuman, and I don't deserve her, but I'll spend my life trying. Thanks to Stockbridge Tea and Coffee for feeding my caffeine addiction and bankrupting me. To my teachers, thank you for pushing me beyond, will this be on the test? And inspiring me to ask, how can I use this knowledge to discover my purpose? And to my classmates, thank you for tolerating my terrible jokes and becoming my true friends. Thank you all for coming today to celebrate, not just a school, but a community. Here's to the next chapter. May it be as wild, weird, and wonderful as these last 4 years. Thank you.
It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Genevieve Brossard to speak to the graduates. A few years ago, Beth Robbins told me I had to meet an artist and boxing coach named Genevieve Brossard. Steve, she has a PhD and she's amazing. She could teach art at our school. With this unusual introduction, I did meet Genevieve, and she is amazing. She's a graduate of Mount Holyoke College. She has 2 master's degrees, one from Brooklyn College and one from Pratt Institute, and she has a doctorate or a PhD from Goldsmiths College, University of London, in art practice. Her artwork has been shown in many places, including London, New York, Florence, Mexico City, and Great Barrington. She has taught in and written art curriculum for the New York City public schools. She hasn't only shown art in Europe and Central America, she has fought there too. She started training as a boxer at the famous Gleason's Gym in Brooklyn, home of Jake LaMotta, played by Robert De Niro in the movie Raging Bull. Students, if you haven't seen Raging Bull, this weekend is not over yet. She's a two-time New York State Golden Gloves boxing champion and has been a member of the USA boxing team. Dr. Brossard has introduced at least a dozen Waldorf students to the sweet science, including most famously Roman Lowe, class of 2019, who is now a Golden Gloves champion heavyweight for Western Massachusetts. Genevieve taught at our school for 7 years and is currently on a self-awarded, well-deserved, I might add, sabbatical. We're talking seriously about her return to teaching, however, and we look forward to welcoming her back. As an artist, as a teacher, as a coach, as an advisor, and as a human being, Genevieve is thoughtful and caring. She has a keen intellect, a swift jab, and a giant heart. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Brossard to speak to today's graduates. Here you go.
Hello, everyone. Hello, dear class of 2025. Thank you for asking me to be your graduation speaker. I'm honored and delighted. Reflecting on past times that I have spoken to students at the final assembly and things like that, I realized that I was really writing and reading love letters. By love, I mean that I am committed to your well-being and to your inner dignity, which could translate into an equilibrium of head, hands, and heart. This love for you, which is also known as one of the 4 Greek types of love, agape, is manifested right here in this beautiful space. You are surrounded by your families, your teachers, and your peers. We are gathered to celebrate you and to show you that we love you and trust you as you cross this archetypal threshold into adulthood, young, very young adulthood. Graduation has always marked a transition from one phase of life to another, but rarely have new graduates stepped into a world where everything else seems to be in such intense transition too. The economy, media, politics, art, technology, there's a lot of uncertainty about what the future holds. This can be overwhelming and also liberating. Along with many other societal structures, the progression from high school to real life is no longer standard or even comprehensible. Traditional formats like the career ladder is an anachronism, like horse-drawn carriages or portable tape players. Prior generations were trapped by a rigid blueprint of success or tortured by its lack of achievability, but we did have a blueprint. You don't. That could be confusing and lonely, but in the midst of this unraveling of our conception of how things work and where we are collectively headed, what you get, you uniquely, is autonomy. You get freedom from the pressure to make one correct choice. There is no correct choice. There's just what you decide you value. What would it look like to ignore other people's blueprints, as they often depict a world we no longer live in? Perhaps rebellion really is your best long-term strategy. Don't work for the system. Work outside the system. Don't follow the rules. Create better rules. Whenever we choose one path, we must forego other paths. So any choice may bring unavoidable regret. If you move to Cairo, you can't live in New York City. If you accept that internship, you can't go backpacking through Europe. Trade-offs and compromises are inevitable. Furthermore, rejections are part of the hustle and are not the opposite of success or happiness or peace. They are just part of an activated life. I find it reassuring to accept that we may be rejected and have some regret, no matter what we choose. Just be sure to make the choice, however difficult it may be. Remember, not choosing is also a choice. The more mindfully we make our decisions, the more satisfied we'll be with our direction. I have a few degrees, and I've been teaching for more than 2 decades. but one of the only things I'm certain of is that most things have not been figured out, and many mysteries remain. A multitude of questions remain unanswered or unasked, and much of what's presented as foundational is actually incomplete, misleading, and false. Reality is far more mysterious, complex, magical, benevolent, and terrible than classroom textbooks, written history, mass media, and pop culture suggest. So it's the end of the world as we know it, again. And I am here advising you to rebel, but to do it mindfully, to create your own new paradigms of success and meaning, but to do so in a world where nothing is certain and no one has anything figured out. So how do we begin to do this? The narrative of the lone hero striving for moral victory and personal success in a harsh world feels played out and sad. What about identifying ourselves as stars in the constellation of interdependence that defines the human experience? Again, we live in a time where storied institutions and their traditional metrics of success seem to be in collapse. That is precisely why investing your energy into building strong relationships, not just online, but in your personal life, your wider community, and the few miles around where you live, is a more meaningful source of security than an employment contract. I invite you to reject the main character myth, which is defined by scarcity, competition, and infinite extraction, and instead embrace the far more liberating truth that, as author and botanist Robin Wall Kimmerer wrote, all flourishing is mutual. While we are all in this together, we are also all alone. I would say that staring into the abyss is a core life skill. The only way to tolerate the inky black void is by looking inward, hearing the voice inside you that feels connected to this gorgeous and wounded world. Rationality becomes a cage when you're constantly simulating or preparing instead of experiencing. And ironically, often the more you think it through, the more detached you get from the signal your instincts are roaring at you. The best compass is usually not what is safest or most optimized, but rather that which feels like a lot of effort in an unknown territory. As you set forth and truly leave childhood and the safety of its structures and requirements, do not avoid the dark abyss, that truth that we are all alone. Instead, take time to listen inwardly and paradoxically find another truth. You have a place in this world and you are needed. Okay, so we've covered love, freedom, choice, rebellion, mystery, interdependence, and the abyss. I thought I'd end with some more unsolicited advice. There isn't a right answer. There just isn't. Every choice can wound someone, heal someone, burn a bridge, and open a conversation. Things will always happen that you can't foresee, but you have to choose. And by you, I mean we. You have to choose how you're going to live your life. You will also have to pivot and choose again and again. Watch where you are going. Turn towards what you love. When in doubt, tell the truth. And always, always, at least in America, tip at least 20%. You will never, ever regret tipping well in your entire life. Thank you.
So we better award some diplomas. Alice Reynolds Barrett. Calendula Dooley. Humaira Joya. Flora Jane Palladino. Masuda Brahimi. Fefe Wu. Ava Teresa Young. The class of 2025.
Thank you.